on today, fam? So we are back again today, and we are back working on the engine back here. So today's mission, we are going to be tackling a cam and spring swap. I'm not quite sure if I'm gonna make this two separate videos or if I'll make it one yet, but it probably end up being two separate videos, but it's all good. So first things first, right? We have to get so we gotta get our cams out to go to access our valve springs, retainers, all that good stuff down there in the head. If you saw my last video, you would have saw me already pull this thing apart, and you would have saw that I went through and refreshed some things in the bottom end, put in an oil pan baffle, poured it 4 pistons racing oil pump, a new oil chain tensioner, etc., etc. So we've done some work already on the bottom end, and then I put on my my oil pan as well. So let's focus our attention at the parts at hand. So keep in mind, all parts that are used here will be linked in the description. So if you want to know where I got any of this stuff, please do check the description. I'm gonna try to be as quick as I can. So tools that you're gonna need for this job if you're doing a cam and spring swap. So number one, valve lash adjustment tool. It just makes it super easy to do on the K-swap, and it makes it a lot easier. So this tool right here, this tool is to go to lock the cams in the back. So when you're trying to torque down either your timing gears or your rear, I forget what they're called, so your cams don't move. So here is a valve lash adjustment tool. It's angled to be able to fit where it needs to go. So right here is your valve spring compressor. You are going to want some assembly lube for your actual camshaft so it doesn't eat up the actual the cam. What's the name? God, the cam journals. Yes, the cam journals. Some Loctite here, got that as well. So that wraps it up for our special tools. So on the timing side of my engine, I got all new timing chain guides right here. For the left and for the right side of the engine, I have a brand new OEM timing chain. Keep in mind that the K20 and K24 timing chain are different lengths. I have a drag cartel lower timing chain, what's the name of this? Lower timing chain guard. So if you're ever doing a cam swap with the vehicle in the car and you don't want to take out the front valve cover and all that stuff, this would just make sure your timing chain does not skip a gear. Perhaps the most important part of all of this is the Hibernation Tensioner. So when you go with aftermarket cams, they're a lot more aggressive on the tensioner, and one of the weak points of the K series is that the tensioners have been known to fail when using more aggressive cams at higher RPMs. So I have a upgraded hybrid racing unit. So the top timing chain guide, I got this aftermarket one right here. This one is longer than the stock K20 one by a good bit. I think it's like an extra inch actually longer, which this will just help the chain to run just to run along this better. So went on ahead and upgraded that as well. So Brian Crowder was dope enough to give me a discount and to hook me up here. So I got a set of their springs with their steel retainers and seats. I also have a set of BC keepers. I recommend upgrading to these just because you know for sure they are going to work with your BC Racing retainers, so that way you don't have to guess and you know for sure that it works. Got new valve stem seals right here, and then what's going to actually make our power is the Skunk 2 Racing Tuner cams here. So this is going to be my whole valve train upgrade that I'm doing right here, but let's get into it. Okay, y'all, so this is where I'm at in the process so far. I have started to loosen up all these bolts here. There's a certain way that you do this though. It starts with this middle bolt right here, then it goes to these 2 outer bolts, then to these 2 outer bolts, then it goes to these 2 outer bolts, these 2 inner bolts, like these 2 outer bolts, these 2 inner bolts. So pretty much you're working where you're out, then you're working in, you're going to the other side, working way out, working in, then you're coming back here, working way out, working way in. So I did not record that step, but what I am going to do is I'm going to have a diagram up to show you just the proper sequence to loosen these, because you have to loosen them in a proper way just to make sure nothing is damaged. Just keep in mind when you're doing this, make sure that you do not lose any of your bolts or anything like that. So just take your time, go slow. All these go in order and they're labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and they all have arrows pointing to the front of the engine where the actual cam gears are. So when you take these off, just make sure you store them somewhere safe where your bolts can't come out, because yeah, I'm assuming it wouldn't be fun. I'm gonna continue to go ahead and take these off, and then I'll get to removing all of the cam caps.
That's one thing I want to go over is, so once you get them all loose, to get the cam caps off, because there's like this bit of a suction from the oil film, you want to bring it up and kind of wiggle them back and forth with the bolts still up in it. Just bring the bolts up, wiggle it, and you'll be able to take those out. So that's a very helpful hint just that I found there. But overall, pretty smooth process. So I slowed down this footage on purpose just so y'all can see. So on the back of the engine, there's two 10mm bolts to get off the rest of the cam tower assembly. Then you're gonna go to the front and you're gonna wanna pry up just slowly on the front. Then when you go to actually take off the whole assembly, make sure you squeeze it together, because if not, the springs will force this whole assembly apart. So pro tip there.
I cannot stunt. I've been moving at a snail's pace so when it comes to this video, but we're back working on the engine as y'all just saw in the last clip. I got the rocker arm assembly out. Just make sure when you pull out the rocker arm assembly to put pressure on it on both sides inward, because this whole assembly can come apart, and it will come apart if you are not paying attention. Just remember, there is Honda bond on the bottom of this panel right here. So whenever we put it back, we gotta remember that. But just set that down right there. So next is to go ahead and remove the valve springs. So we install our new seats, retainers, keepers, valve seals, all that good stuff. So this is the tool that I got right here. We're gonna see just how this tool works. So if you don't have compressed air to keep your valves up, what you can do is go and take your actual oil dipstick right here, and you wanna put it into whatever cylinder you're working on. So I'm gonna be starting off with this first cylinder right here. So what you can do is actually rotate the engine, and then so you will notice that the dipstick will go up and down as you rotate the engine. So when the dipstick is all the way up, then that means that the engine is at top dead center. So when the engine is at top dead center, then that means that your valves will not be able to fall inside of the cylinder whenever you are removing the valve spring. So keep that in mind. You don't want your valves to drop down in your cylinder, but I'm gonna go ahead and try out this tool that I have here. Hopefully it works out pretty good, but we'll see. One thing that will make this job a little bit easier is a magnetic retriever tool, just to get your keepers out of the way as you do your thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and try these first two intake valve springs here, and we'll get into it. So let's get that time lapse going.
So starting off, the first thing you want to make sure is that the cylinder's at top dead center. So I just double check to make sure. There, I compress the spring, take off the old keepers there. Then I take out the old spring. From here, I'm getting off the valve stem seal. I have the proper tool linked in the description. From there, I'm getting off the old seat, because the BC ones come with that new seat that you see right there. From there, I put in a new valve seal, but just make sure you use the proper tool to compress it. I have that linked as well. Then I compress the spring again, and I begin putting on my new keepers. This is a tricky part. The magnetic retriever and a magnetic screwdriver made it much easier. I confirmed that everything's good, and now we're good to move on.
So I got my first two valve springs and everything, and then I have to be honest, I don't know if this is the best method. I saw this other one where you can literally like hit the valve like that, and it just goes on with the new keepers, because the keepers is the hardest job to get on. But I don't know. I mean, it's working. It just ain't fast. So I'm gonna go ahead and work through all these. Y'all don't need to see this whole process. I showed you the first two and I talked you through it as well. So that's that. But yeah, this tool is a good tool. Nothing's wrong with it, but it is slow. It's definitely slow. Just make sure every two is a different cylinder. So this would be the first cylinder, these two are gonna be the second cylinder, these two are gonna be the third cylinder, these two are gonna be the fourth cylinder. So don't get too ahead of yourself and accidentally go to remove your keepers and stuff without first bringing up the piston, because if not, then your valve is gonna drop in there. And then, yeah, you gotta pull off your head. No way around it. So don't want y'all to have to go through that struggle, but I'm gonna go ahead and knock this out. And once I'm done, we will move on to getting our new cams on. So, as y'all saw in the last clip, we finished up just getting all the new springs, retainers, seats, and valve seals on. Everything looks good here. I'm happy with the way it came out. Yo, word of advice, don't put on your oil pan first, because if the off chance you drop a valve keeper down through one of the oil passages, you're gonna have to take that oil pan off. I learned that the hard way last night and almost literally should have bricked. But anyways, right? So we're gonna have to put on, back on our rocker arm assembly right here. One thing I did notice when I took out the rocker arm assembly was on the end of it, where your cam sensors go, like right in this area, there was some RTV. So I'm going to RTV that just so we don't have any leaks. It sits in there like this, but yeah, I'm just gonna RTV it here on this part, and then I'm gonna drop this rocker arm assembly back on it. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and time lapse this, and we're gonna get going. If y'all don't have any Honda Bond, just make sure y'all pick up some Honda Bond, cause yeah, so this stuff, it works wonders. So let's get it.
So here comes the very challenging part of putting back on the rocker assembly here. The way I found it easiest was to rotate all of your rockers up and try and seat it from there. Make sure you're keeping constant pressure to this to just make sure that none of the springs pop out and stuff like that, because the assembly will try to work itself free. Make sure you put RTV on the back part that requires RTV. Just keep in mind, if you accidentally rotate the shaft inside that runs through all the rockers, your bolts won't line up. I found out the hard way.
Whew, so this was a struggle as well. You know, I want to be transparent in this video, but as y'all might have saw, just in the time lapse, I did have some issues with getting the whole thing to sit evenly. What I eventually did was I put all of the rocker assemblies up. Like literally, I just brought the whole thing up like that for all of them, just to help me to keep it lined up. The thing about this is you have to keep the whole cam rocker assembly tight like this, because they have springs in it. So, and it's oiled, so the assembly's naturally gonna wanna go to push out like that. So once I got sort of dowel pin in on this side and this side, I put a rag down with a hammer, and I just started to tap the whole assembly down little by little. So the thing that you got to be wary of with this is that there's a spring powered little dowel right here, and this whole assembly can actually come out. So you don't want all of these little springs to pop out, so you got to be careful there. You really have to be careful there. But yeah, got that all done. Tightened up these rear two little bolts right here. One's right here, right here. They're both 10 mils with the RTV. I was afraid that the RTV would cure too quickly, but it looks like it was fine there. So next thing we're gonna be doing is actually getting our new cams ready. Honestly, I don't know if I'm closing out the video here or not, because it just depends on how long this video is now. I feel like it's kind of long. So if I do close out the video here, so thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Coast.